Thank you. Thank you all for coming and for being here, for all of your support. It's actually phenomenal. It's really, really amazing. The sum of the 5 people closest to you. We've heard that phrase so many times. You're the sum of the 5 people closest to you, to the point where it's slightly irritating. It's not enjoyable anymore. Because who are those 5 people closest to you? And how do you figure that out? It's really easy. There's one person in front of you, one person to the left, one person to the right, one person behind you. You'll find that 5th person on your social media sites. You're good to go. Have a good night. Seriously, with a show of hands, who here would consider themselves an honest person? Nice. Most of those hands came up. There's a few that didn't. Just take notice of them and don't have them be one of the 5 people. With another show of hands, who here, and just remembering that you're an honest person, who here picks their nose?
Be honest. Just being honest.
The truth comes out. It's a little bit harder to admit. Don't put that on your social media site. Social media is actually really interesting. Thank you for that. Social media is actually very interesting. We've gotten a lot from it, we've learned a lot from it, and we've suffered a lot because of it. One of the coolest parts of social media is actually the acronyms. Makes life so much easier. You have these wonderful acronyms like LOL. We used to have to type out laughing out loud. Now it's just 3 letters. We didn't even have the phrase laughing out loud. It was like, ha ha, you're making me laugh and it's hilarious. Now it's just 3 letters. And we have BRB for be right back. But one of the ones that's the most confusing and the hardest to accept is this simple acronym of FOMO, F-O-M-O. I remember the first time that I heard this. I had no idea what it was. I was actually in Estonia, and I was there with a big group of people. There were different families, and we had all gotten to know each other. And all of the moms, we had sent the husbands all away with the children one night. It was about 6 o'clock, and it was wonderful because it's 11 o'clock at night in Estonia. It looks like it's 6 o'clock at night, so the kids were so excited to get rid of us because now with the dad, they had no bedtime because there's no sense of time with this change. So we're there, and we all decide to go out and eat dinner together. And these women are phenomenal women. I mean, they are game changers. They are on the top level. And we're all sitting around. We walk into this restaurant, and this restaurant is an open air restaurant. It is beautiful. I mean, there's green grass the entire way. There's castle walls. I mean, they're gigantic. There's vines over top. And this spread, just the smell of it was phenomenal. So we're all sitting around, we're eating dinner, and all of these wonderful, amazing women are telling all these dang awesome stories about themselves. They're saying, oh, I've done this, and I've done this, and this is the project I'm working on. And I remember my friend Stacy. She's actually not here, so I can say her name. But she's sitting there, and she's saying, oh, you know, I'm into this. I have a phenomenal family, an awesome husband, and I have a podcast that every Friday I have thousands of viewers that come and watch and listen and learn from me. And I'm running a spa. And not only am I running one spa, I'm running 15. And we're opening 50 more over the next little bit. this woman was incredible. And then she says, but I have FOMO. And I'd never heard this before. But with all of these wonderful things she's rattling off, I think that she's making chocolate, so I want some. So I ask her, well, what's FOMO? And she goes, it's fear of missing out. And I went, wait a second here. What are you missing out on? Did you not look around? There's castle walls. Rapunzel's throwing her hair down. What? You're in Estonia. We don't even have kids here right now. We don't even know what time it is. What are you missing out on? And I didn't understand it until I had it myself. Earlier this year, we did write a book. It became a #1 bestseller on Amazon the day it was launched in 4 different countries. It is a phenomenal book. I was down in LA with a lot of the women who helped author this book. We're hanging out, having a great time, enjoying each other, and the producer came up to me. And we were talking about my story, and it was so wonderful to be able to share my story because you have to be vulnerable. See, in that book, I wrote about how in 2014, it was actually May 31st of 2014, I actually just had my 5th anniversary. Hooray. I lost 95% of my memories. They were gone. I remembered that I had 2 little boys, and I remembered their names. I did not remember how to drive a car. I was an ASL, American Sign Language interpreter, for 4 years, and I could remember one sign: sorry. All of it was gone. I couldn't remember how to cook, or what side of the kitchen sink the plates or the cups were on. And with that whole lesson, that whole experience, I learned that I had to lose a part of myself so I could relearn a new way, new actions, new steps, new beliefs that would serve me and help my family, and help those around me. When we were down in LA, the book producer came up to me and she said, hey, this book has been so amazing and such a wonderful experience that we've decided that we are going to make a book series. You were such a huge, tremendous part of our first book. We'd love you to be in the second book. Will you be part of the second book? And it was tough because I've got all these other ladies and all of these friends hanging out, and they're all saying, oh yes, I'm gonna be part of it. I'm gonna be part of it. Ooh, pick me, I'm part of it. So I wanted to be part of it too. But there was this weird feeling there. Was I supposed to be? So I went and I sat down in the corner and I meditated. And I just asked, am I supposed to be part of this second book? And I got this overwhelming feeling of no, you're not. Because you're experiencing fear of missing out. But I needed to change that around and realize that I was focusing on my objectives. Social media has been absolutely fantastic in a lot of ways, kind of scary and nerve-wracking in others, but it hasn't actually been around for very long. Social media has only been around since 1997. We haven't even had bicycles for very long. We just barely got bicycles in 1817. That's kind of a new invention, really. Rubber balls. Before that, we got rubber balls in 1600 BC. That's what, 3,600 years ago? Which sounds like a long time, but it really isn't that long. I mean, before that, we just threw rocks. Rocks without warning labels. They used to throw a lot of rocks. Kids, I have 2 of them. Well, I'll tell you a story about rocks. This is why they actually invented rubber balls. but about 6,000 to 7,000, maybe 8,000 years ago. It was actually in Spain. There were a few guys, and they were out walking, and they were walking along, and they heard some noise back, and they couldn't figure out what this noise was, so they kind of got a little bit closer, and a little bit closer, and they heard, and it was this buzzing, and they went, it was zzz, what is that? What is that? And they were all really interested in this sound and this noise, so they got closer, and one of them got stung. And they were like, oh, that freaking hurt! Get out of here! So they ended up leaving that area, and they went back. They went back to their home, their little nomadic tribe, caveman area. And they went back to their families, and they said, hey, you guys, this place is horrid, where we just were. Don't go there. Whatever you do, don't go. So a few days went by, and it was actually my child who came up and decided, he's 7, he decided, we're gonna go. I wanna know what Dad discovered, what was on his arm, we gotta figure this out. So he took all of his little buddies, and they snuck out of the little tribe area, and they made it back. And they were over there checking out, and they heard the buzzing again. So they knew they were in the right spot, and they got closer and closer, and they said, well, sometimes kids are smarter than adults. So they back up, and they're like, let's throw rocks at it. They didn't have rubber balls with warning labels, so they would have said, don't throw it at the beehive. But they picked up these rocks, and they start hucking them at this beehive. And they hit the beehive, and it goes, and it breaks open. And those bees were pissed. I mean, can you imagine being there? Can you imagine that sound, that zzz, and they're like gonna come and kill you? These kids, they split. Like, we're out of here. They went back, and a few days went by. And they were still curious. They wanted to know what they had just knocked down. So of course they snuck back, and they go to check out this hive. But all the bees are gone now, so they can get really close, which they're super excited about. So they get in really close, and they start breaking it apart, and they're so excited. And all of a sudden, one's like, oh, what is this stuff? I'm all sticky. And then he gets it in his hair, because his hair's long, because they don't have hairdressers back then. And so he's got it in his hair, and then his hair's in his mouth, and he's like, oh, that stuff's amazing. We got to share this with Dad. And so they go running back. We're going to be in trouble. I don't care. This stuff's so cool. I want more of it. So they go running back, and they're like, Dad, check this out. And Dad's like, don't touch me. You're all sticky. Go wash up. They're like, no, you got to check this out. And they get it, of course, because they're kids, and everything ends up in your parents' mouths when your kids are like, hey, all over you. And Dad gets it in his mouth, and so he's like, oh, this stuff is amazing. And what was on the outside was so terrifying and kind of, unruly a little bit. But once it was broken open, it was absolutely amazing. What's inside of you that's in there that hasn't been broken open yet? What's inside of you that you can just crack a little and find that beauty inside of you? Because it's what's inside that matters. Like Linda was just saying, if you want to dance, dance. If you want to sing, sing. Trust yourself. Sing and dance in the kitchen. Even if people are listening, it's awesome. I remember back, it was 1993, and I was in 8th grade. And it's so hard to kind of identify all the time who you are and what your talents are and how you shine. But it's really easy to look at other people and just see what their talents are and kind of grasp onto them a little bit. I remember it was 8th grade, and I played the flute. My mom is actually here. She just flew in from Reno, so I apologize, Mom. But I played the flute 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, and I hated it. I hated the flute. It was so boring. You had to just sit there. You couldn't get up. You couldn't move. You couldn't do anything. And I'd look over, and there was the percussion, and they were amazing. I remember there was this girl. Her name was Kim. And Kim, not only was she beautiful, had the most beautiful dark hair, but she was friendly, and she was kind, and had the cutest clothes, and I just wanted to be like her. And I really didn't know who I was at that point, but she was stunning to watch. So I would just sit there, and I'd watch her, and she'd be playing the drums, and I wanted to be her. I wanted to stand over there and play drums with her. So I walked up to her at the beginning of 8th grade, and I said, hey, Kim, I'm going to play drums with you this year. She said, you are? Have you been practicing? Yes. Yes, I have. In fact, we bought a drum set, and I've been practicing all summer. That's not true. We did not buy a drum set. I hadn't practiced. I knew that there were 2 sticks, one for each hand. And she asked me, she said, well, what was the first drum you bought? I said, it was a snare drum. It was the only drum name I actually knew. So it made sense. She said, that's not the first drum you buy. The first drum you buy is actually a little practice drum. You didn't buy a snare drum or a drum set. You didn't practice all summer. You're not going to play drums with me. And she turned around and walked off. I was like, wait a second here. There went my opportunity, because I wasn't being true to myself and I wasn't being authentic to who I was latching on to somebody else. I lost all of the opportunity. If I had simply said something like, I'd love to learn how to play drums with you this year, where do I start? Then I would have had a friend. But I didn't trust myself, and I didn't love myself. And that came through. So I lost that opportunity. Being honest with yourself is extremely important, but it can be very rewarding and also very difficult. Since I was an ASL interpreter, one of the very first signs that I learned was one of the most amazing signs on the face of this planet. It's so simple, and I'm going to actually teach you guys right now. Some of you might know it, and a lot of you probably won't, but it's magical, because if you teach this to your friends and to your family, you can communicate with somebody back here or up here all the way to the back without saying anything. And it's this simple sign right here. And I call it your I love you hands. And I actually really love seeing you guys do it, because you guys are all doing it to me right now. This is wonderful. But it's cool because you can actually give this to yourself. It's really hard sometimes to say out loud, I love you to yourself. It really is. But kind of like what Linda was saying, look in the mirror and say, I love you to yourself. Or give yourself, I love you hands. That might be an easier place to start. And when it is a little bit easier to say, I love you, then say it out loud, because those words ring true. Those words are so incredibly important. You can give I love you hands to your shadow. That's actually really fun. She gives it right back. If you're walking past a window and you're not too self-conscious, because somebody might be watching you on the other side, you could just quickly. That's fun too. I love you, I trust you, and you're headed in the right direction. Say those phrases to yourself in the mirror, because they're all really, really important. And the power of your voice is so strong. And trust that voice inside of you, because it will tell you, I call it your inner echo. It will tell you where to go. It will tell you where to head. It will tell you what direction to move towards. Listen to that inner echo. There are 5 people that are closest to you. And some of them might be in this room right now. So do take a moment to get to know some people that you haven't met yet. Shake their hands, exchange phone numbers, thank them for coming. Choose who those 4 people closest to you are. But who is that 5th person that's closest to you? It's you. So make sure that you're honest to yourself, you're kind to yourself, and you love yourself. Thank you.